You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to the KCSN Draft Show. I'm BJ Kissel, hanging out with Tucker Franklin and our special guest, the new KC Sports Network host / contributor, former Eagles and Chiefs and Texans linebacker, Mr. Shawn Barber.
And welcome. Yeah, man, obviously, man, Richmond Spiders.
Spiders
Spiders, man. It's VA 804 all day, baby, 804 all day. Landed in Indy. I landed in Indy, and guess what? The first person I called, my man Mike White. He was a punter for me at University of Richmond. Mm-hmm. Called him up, said, hey, one day we got to catch lunch. He said, barbershop? You are in my town? Hey, man, we got Spiders all over the nation, so I can't wait to talk about a few guys.
Got so many notes. You literally wrote notes on
the plane.
I got Southwest thing and everything.
Mock draft 1.0, 2.0. I got 3 and 4.0 brewing in my mind right now.
All right, we're going to get into your first round because you've got 30 players projected as first-round picks. We're going to get into those with Mr. Shawn Barber. But, Shawn, before we do that, you and I, over the years, done a lot of work together. We have never had a conversation just about, like, your draft process. Like, when you were coming through as a player out of the University of Richmond, what do you remember about that process and the weeks leading up to the draft, the bowl games, like the whole deal?
Well, since this video, I'm going to roll up my sleeves for this one because we're going to get deep into it.
It's getting serious.
Man, coming out of the University of Richmond, I stayed for a 5th year. After my 4th year, I had like a 6th, 7th round draft projection. I never signed with an agent. So I went back for my 5th year. I was defensive player of the conference that year. Ended up signing with Sports Stars, management group, Brian Mackler and Alan Herman. I was with them my entire career. They sent me to go get some combine training. Back in those days, that wasn't something that every agent used to do. They invest a little bit of money in you to get you trained up so that you can perform the best of your ability. I just soaked it all in, man. I went paper. Listen, I'm about these notes. It ain't just for the draft. It ain't just for the combine. I take notes in every facet of my life. Anything I'm doing, I'm taking notes. I want to know the why behind things. So whether it was the broad jump, the vertical, a short shuttle 40, I broke it down to like what is going to allow me to excel in each one of these events. And obviously with the 40-yard dash, you start with your stance and you start first 10. How do you accelerate? How do you hold that acceleration and then finish? So it's not just running to a finish point. You got to break it down to all 5 segments, and then you got to videotape yourself, which I did. By that time, we had these little 8mm cameras we put on the tripod. I had my girlfriend at the time push the record button, and she just recorded my start over and over again. And I would try to run like 20 yards, and I want to see how can I different starts, different stances, keep my hips low, raise my hand. I put like all these different variations of a start, and broke it down as by hand time what got me the fastest start. And then I did that over and over again until I could pretty much do it in my sleep. And I did that for every segment of a 40-yard dash until I got my 40 down to 4.44.
Wow. Is that what you officially ran?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so whenever you get Warfield on this.
4.4 linebacker.
At
220?
227. I came in at 227, man, 4.44.
That's not too bad.
That's pretty good.
That's not too bad.
Knowing that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, border, man.
That's pretty good.
Listen.
I was going to say something that said, like, especially for back when they did that. Like, whatever I was going to say, I was going to make you sound old. That's not.
I know, man.
But there's so much more.
This is dinosaur. I am old, man. Like, let's not, listen, it is what it is. It's wisdom, though.
Yeah.
I'm wise beyond my years. Listen, all the training they're doing now at Florida and you can go to New Jersey, to all these different places, that was the core of what I taught myself. I was a self-taught guy coming out of a small school, small college. I knew there wasn't going to be a bunch of teams coming to my pro day. It's Richmond. Ain't nobody coming. They're going to UVA. They're going to Virginia Tech. They're going to go to all the big schools. But I had to make the most out of my trip to the combine. My trip to Indy, that was my time to showcase, time for me to shine.
Yeah.
On the same field, on the same stage as all these other Division I college linebackers. That was my proving ground to show that I can, play in the big leagues.
Yeah. What do you remember about being at the combine?
Man, I think I was caught up in the moment of a bunch of energy, a bunch of emotion. The first night I got here, man, I might have been almost in tears, just the fact that this day arrived, because I put so much time into like fine tuning, like I'm saying, every aspect of each drill. And now it was finally time to let all that knowledge, all that hard work, all that effort be able to like just come out of me and showcase it on Indy, like I said, on the same stage these other guys. And I was a little bit nervous about what was I going to be able to, kind of stand up to that standard.
Yeah.
Luckily, it all kind of worked out. Like I said, great 40-time vertical. I think my vertical was 35 inches, like a 10'2" or something broad jump. Great short shuttle. Like everything just kind of fell into place because I was really confident in all the drills. I was confident in my footwork. I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I tell guys all the time. The hard work pays off. Now either you got it or you don't. If you ain't fast, you ain't. I mean, you gotta come out here and show something. And my dad was a wide receiver. Bless his soul, rest in peace. But I think God gifted me some really good hands. I played wide receiver in high school. Okay. So catching the ball and running through the catches and doing all those things, that was the one piece that I think set me apart from everybody else at the draft. We had some good linebackers there, but they all kind of had stubs like this as hands. They dropped a couple balls, and I think I went 9 for 9 to how many catches it was. I didn't drop a ball.
Like it was yesterday.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, Shawn, I'm happy to inform you your vertical, according here, when I'm looking at your combine numbers, 37 inches on the vertical.
Man, undersold himself.
37 inches. The 20-yard short shuttle, 4.1.
Get off me.
Yeah, it's a really good short shuttle. And me, vertical,
46-inch vertical. Taking everything into consideration.
I'm about my chest. Y'all don't even see. I can see it right now. My chest out here like a robin. I'm just the bus bursts out. I'm about to get on. You know what? Give me some cleats. Let me get out there tomorrow and show them jokers how to do it.
Well, I want to ask you about that too. BJ brought it up, and it's a lot of conversation about combine training versus actual training, right?
Yeah.
To get, and I want to know how much that differed from what your actual training was, and how much did it actually add to your training regimen of like doing the combine training on top of what you were already doing to just be a better football player.
So I got obsessed with, like I said, so I got on the computer, started looking up combine drills, and I wanted to know the exact distance of the cones when it came to the eye test and the short shuttle. And then I looked up footwork, and so I looked at what the fastest record recorded times in the short shuttle, the eye test, all these different drills were, and I watched those guys perform. I watched the combine from a few years before, a few years before I was in a part of the 98 combine. So I went from 96, 97, 98, found out who was running the fastest time in these events, and then I tried to count their steps. All right, short shuttle, it was left, right, left, plant, swoop, left, right, 5 steps, swoop your hand, and then finish through. So I was like breaking down everybody down to the like smallest detail, and then I tried to emulate it and repeat that over and over. But obviously, anytime you try to do something like somebody else is doing, is sometimes it doesn't work.
Right.
And so I had to kind of figure out, of these, 5 different ways of doing it, which one did my body respond best to, and which one did I think I could start cutting off tenths and hundredths of a second off to make sure to get my time down to the lowest as possible. And like I said, I just pencil and paper. I mean, it was what's called a beautiful mind type thing.
Right, yeah.
All on the chalkboard and everything. I had notes all, out the wazoo. And then I just kept working at it, man, kept grinding at it. But it was not like preparing for a game. Preparing for a game is you watching film of the opponent. The only opponent when it comes right now in the combine is in those guys' minds.
Man.
It's a mental hurdle they got to get over to be able to come up here in Indy in front of all their peers, the best of the best, knowing all these NFL scouts and general managers are up in the stands.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, if I have to, I think I was able to like block that out. I just wanted to showcase exactly what I was doing on those practice fields at Richmond. I wanted to bring that right to Indy and just showcase that same thing. So for the few days I was working out, I don't really think I realized there were general managers and scouts up in this. Like, I think that was part of it that I just blocked it out because it probably would have made me nervous and all that kind of stuff. So I was able just to really compartmentalize that aspect of it and just go out there and show my athleticism.
Well, what was that feeling like, though? You run a really good 40 time. You do the good short shuttle. You have a good vertical. What was that feeling like then after the combine to be like, okay, I did all that hard work kind of paid off. What was that like?
Well, I mean, again, I still knew I was an underdog. So I knew that I could have came out there and won every drill and lit up and they're still going to say, well, you went to University of Richmond. It's a 1AA school. Your competition level isn't what these guys at Louisville and UVA and stuff was.
Yeah.
And so I knew because I came off of a Senior Bowl where I had a really good week of Senior Bowl practice.
Yep.
So when you talk about the transition, preparing myself for the Senior Bowl, it was about keeping my hips low, exploding through every drill, showcasing explosion out my hips, how to disengage and not be, we call it, don't be Velcro.
Yeah.
When you get on the tackle, you got to be able to rip off and get off and get clean air, close the distance between running backs and wide receivers really quickly and stuff like that. Always on the field showcasing your athleticism and your balance and all the things that make you special.
Right.
And then when you come here, it's about these drills. There is no opponent. It's just the drills. And you got to get through that mental block of yourself telling you you're not worthy, you're not good enough, and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, man. Like I said, my confidence level, I think because of all the hard work and practice, my confidence level was through the roof. My agent had a lot of faith in me, and so we scheduled, we had guys come in the hallways while I was stretching and stuff just to see how flexible I was. Like, he'd bring a scout through and say, hey, that's Barber right there, University of Richmond, 227-pound linebacker coming out of Richmond. I mean, look how flexible. Hey, Shawn, show him how you can touch the floor. Show him listen, on demand. You wanted me to touch, palms completely on the floor. I want to show that I was an extremely flexible top-end athlete, and I didn't need much time to get prepared to get ready. Like, what you saw is what you're going to get every day at practice. And so, after the combine was over, it was a big kind of just mentally allowed me just to flush out and get everything off my mind and prepare for the draft. And luckily, I got drafted in the 4th round.
Yeah, you go pick 113 overall to Washington, one of the teams that did not mention off top that you played for, team that drafted you, but go to Washington. And this 1AA player that had all these question marks, this agent just doing everything he can to promote him, has 501 career tackles, 10 sacks, plays in the league for a very long time. And now that you have an opportunity, and I know your heart, I know what you're about, what you're trying to do. You come up here, you did it at the Shrine Bowl, and we were out there hanging out. You're talking to these young players. What is your advice? What is your mentorship, and what does that platform mean to you to talk to these young guys getting ready and going through this whole process that you've gone through yourself?
Yeah, BJ, at the end of the day, man, I just feel like God's put me here for a purpose, and the purpose is to just continue to give back and not let guys make the same mistakes I did. And it's not always the drinking and driving and the partying and all that kind of stuff. You hear that everywhere. It's just to not apply yourself 100% to your craft. When it comes to football, man, it's a lot of mental preparation, film study. It's a lot of knowing your position, your alignment, assignment to be able to execute, and then it's physically being able to just pour out your effort and energy. Drain yourself on a daily day at practice. Crashing yourself through that wall of fatigue to build another layer of reserve in your tank so that you can go 4 quarters and overtime if you need to every week, on and on and on, and fight through injury and fight through. So building that up, it just took me until about my 4th or 5th year in the league to really have all of those pieces together, because when I got to the league, I was still hanging out with friends from University of Richmond, obviously being drafted by the Redskins. My college was an hour away. So the entire university would come up every weekend to support me, but also support the nightlife. So I was burning both ends of the candles, and I just didn't give my career for those first 4 years the amount of priority in my life I should have. And yes, when I got to my 5th and 6th, 7th, those years, I got a little bit wiser and older, and I knew I needed that extra rest in order to be able to even play. But I try to talk to these guys at an early, before you make those same mistakes I do, because some guys, when you talk about the length of a career in the NFL, it's only 2.5, 3 years, because some guys never make it out that first phase. Yeah. The celebrity and the nightlife and all that, it just eats them up. And maybe it's one injury or it's a few bad games in a row, and then they replace you and put somebody else in, and that person just starts doing well, and you just never get back on the field.
Yeah.
So I just think that, from a mentorship standpoint, I always want to make myself available to not only sports stars, athletes, because I'm excited to see those guys get the same agent I did, but any athlete, especially the linebackers. Any linebacker I have a chance to sit down and talk to, just trying to figure out his mindset. How does he see the game? How does he interpret formation and shifts? And, how does he process game scenario? Because I think I've learned so much through the 10 years of playing. I mean, if I can just seed some of this knowledge into somebody else's soul, I think that guy could just take it and grow and be good, and I'll be happy with that.
So much of what you just talked about fits in with questions that I used to ask John Dorsey, I used to ask Brett Veach, and especially when always around draft time, especially here at the Combine. How do you separate guys that you're scouting that love the fact that they're good at football or absolutely love football? And those are two different things. Some guys love what football can bring them. They're great athletes. They play well in college. They're the man. They make all these plays. But all the other stuff, and I know you're saying early in your career you feel like you maybe didn't give it the attention that it deserved, but you just sat here and told us the stories of getting ready for the Combine and watching video of other guys that were good at the drills. How did they do it? And all this film breakdown that nowadays, it's like, yeah, you got YouTube, you just go on, and everything you'd ever want to know is there. You didn't have that, so you kind of manufactured it. Where if your agent or any NFL team looked into all of the different things that you were doing, saw that you loved it, it meant more to you than just something that you were good at. But I want to know what players you think are going to be really good in this draft. And we'll go over your top 30 list for the first round right after this quick break.
All right, welcome back into the KCSN Draft Show. We're hanging out here at the Tin Roof Bar and Grill in Indianapolis. They got a location in Kansas City, too, if you want to check out a Tin Roof. So they've got them all over the country, so go check out Tin Roof. If you are in Indianapolis, great place, good spot. Shawn, we're looking at your notes that you got there. You've got pieces of paper, you've got Southwest napkins, you've got them all over the place, and you've been grinding tape on these guys, watching them. I know that when we were in Vegas, we were watching tape with you on some of these linebackers. But I want to talk about the 30 guys that you got rated. That's what you said, because we were like, hey, what are we going to talk about, Shawn? What do you want to talk about? And you said, I got 30 guys that I think will go in the first round. Let's talk about those guys.
All right. Well, everybody wants to know it's a quarterback-driven league, right? Yeah. So let's just start with the quarterback position, right?
All right.
And so I think everybody, 99.9% of America has Bryce Young as their top quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fifth place in my book. I got him at number 5, so I'm gonna go 5 and go backwards.
I think the draft guide actually has somebody else at number 1.
Right.
It's not out yet.
No, it's not.
But
no spoilers.
No spoilers.
If you are on the same page with Mr. Kent Swanson,
I can't. You know what? I'm gonna subscribe to that. You tell me the link. I'm gonna link up and buy me. What is it called? The draft journal, the draft
guide. The draft guide.
The draft guide.
Those guys do work.
Yeah, I think I've seen it years ago. But I haven't. Listen, I need to get that, and I need to compare it to my notes, because somewhere collectively, I think we can unlock the key.
I think it's beautiful because I know you did the work and then you went and actually watched and studied this, as opposed to studying other mock drafts, watching a little bit, and then just kind of piecing it all together. But sorry, go ahead. You got Bryce Young as your 5th quarterback.
Yes, Hendon Hooker from Tennessee is my 4th ranked quarterback. I love his athleticism. I love the big arm. I love the stature. I'm one of. I think. There's a few people probably like me. I just think it's so tough to play the quarterback position if you're challenged by height. Not being able to see clearly, through the different the passing angles and down the field. I just think that when you lower that by a foot, it just you're throwing the spots, you're throwing the areas, hoping that those things come open versus seeing it from a taller viewpoint. So. And maybe it's a little bit of past history, little ex-girlfriend luggage, because Doug Flutie tore me up every time I couldn't tackle him. He would. I think I'm 0-5 against Flutie or something like that. Some ridiculous stat. I don't think I've ever beat Doug Flutie in my career, and I just couldn't understand how the guy his size could even see where he was throwing that ball. And so maybe I'm just so again, I might be just. There might be some scar tissue. I just can't get over it. So
go back. So you've got Hendon Hooker rated higher than Bryce Young.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Bryce Young is my 5. Hendon Hooker is my 4. Anthony Richardson is my 3 from Florida. I think he's the total package. I think he's got all the.
Yeah.
So I believe that you can't hold turnovers and you can't hold that against some of these young guys, because I think sometimes you get put into an offense the offense demands that you put the game on your back and try to be Superman.
Right.
If you take Anthony Richardson, you put him with the right quarterback coach and the right philosophy, and they teach him how to just, prioritize the possession.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, hey man, it ain't Superman no more. We don't have no capes. There is no Black Panther coming to save Wakanda. Like, none of that stuff. All right, it's just play the position the way it's to be played. We got a defense that's gonna keep them from scoring, and our offense, we want to get first down, get in the red zone. We want to protect the field goal, and then if the defense makes a mistake, we make them pay and get a touchdown. And you got a running game too that can score too, so it ain't always got to be you. If a quarterback comes in with the right tools that this guy got, man, he could really be one of the top 5 quarterbacks really soon in the NFL. So I'm excited to see and hope he goes to the right staff, the right coaching staff that can really kind of mold what he has going on. So that's my number 3 quarterback.
I really like that, and that, Matt Miller even brought this up. The Colts make a lot of sense for Anthony Richardson. They make a lot of sense, and I'd love to see him kind of make that move to get up there and go get him. And I agree with you. I really do love what Anthony Richardson can bring, and even a point I brought up with Matt is, touchdowns weren't there early on in the season. They came later on in the season, so you got to get them in the right situation. A lot of it's nature versus nurture when it comes to draft picks.
I like that.
So I think that's going to be good. Indy would be buzzing if they got him as quarterback.
All right. Well, there's only 2 quarterbacks left, obviously, and that's Will Levis, or my man C.J. Stroud. So I'm going to go.
Which way to go with my man?
That might have gave it away. Man, I like what this kid has, and I know the Ohio State has had a curses, whatever they call it, whatever they want to say about Ohio State and the quarterback. The guys come in and they ball. They come in with a lot of heart and a desire. And unfortunately, it's some teams you just can't go to and be successful. It's hard for some guys just to get implemented into an organization that just doesn't have a lot of talent around them and expect this first-round draft pick quarterback to save the team. With the Bears and the Texans and Indy all being at the top of the draft, all having a desire to get, fix that quarterback position, I think the Bears stay put. I think the Bears might, if they do trade down, is to get one of these defensive studs. Yeah. We'll get to those guys later.
They got a lot of holes to fix.
They got a lot of holes.
They got an asset. Try to turn that into more.
But the Texans, I would like to see the Texans. My man DeMeco Ryans heading that franchise up now. So I would love to see DeMeco put his thumbprint on the Houston Texans and start the draft with the Texans taking C.J. Stroud as the number 1 quarterback.
I like it. I do like what C.J. Stroud did. He showed some abilities to win games. And again, when we talk about Jackson Smith and Jigba's game against in the Rose Bowl, C.J. Stroud had an equally impressive game in that Rose Bowl as well. And he's been a quarterback that has been talked about as soon as he was able to be talked about. Before he was able to be talked about to the draft, they're like, oh, this kid's going to be pretty good. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And there's a lot of good. We're talking about Field Yates about this. Like, there's some good quarterbacks in this draft. There's no blue chip certain put your stamp on like a Trevor Lawrence or anything like that. But there's guys that can be sneaky good and then put in the right situation as you're talking about, Shawn. I think that those are all really good. So what position do you want to talk about next? Because if we're going to go by position of your rounders, the first rounders you got, which ones do you want to talk about now?
Let's go about the guys that catches all the touchdowns. Let's go with wide receivers.
Do it.
Let's go wide receivers.
I love this because I know you did the work and it's different. You don't care what other people have at their rankings, and I love everything about this conversation.
Yeah. Now, the problem in all these things is because I don't listen to a lot, all my pronunciations of their last names, I might just say the guy from Fresno, the guy from Georgia.
Yeah.
And I'll let y'all handle it.
I'm the last person to ask.
I'll let y'all handle
Shelly for like the last week, and then I had like 8 people either text me, DM me, or hit me up on a comment on the YouTube channel.
Yes, I'm going to let you know.
Michelle.
I am last name. That ain't my strong point. I just watched the film, put them in order. Listen, your last name, whatever your mama call you is your name. So.
All right, how many first round wide receivers do you have being taken?
I got 5 wide receivers going in the first round. Only 4 of them had a first round grade, but I think because that's a position of need and a desired position, and late in the draft, there's going to be a team that even if he's not a first round grade, is going to make my number 5 guy. They're going to bump him up and probably take him late in the first round.
You get that 5th-year option. We saw what happened in the wide receiver free agent market last year. It's enticing to get that 5th-year option for these guys.
Yes.
Who do you have as let's start at the bottom, number 5?
5, I got Tank Dell from Houston.
Yeah.
I got the Houston product. I think he's a complete receiver. I like his catch radius. He was part of a really productive team at Houston. They got up and down the field, vertical. To me, he has the full tree. He runs across the field. He runs the jet screens. He runs vertical, and he does it all at an extremely high level. Now that I say all these great things about him, so well, how is he 5? Because I don't think he doesn't excel in any of those things. He's above average, well above average in so many different categories. But these other guys, man, it's something that's so special about a few things they do. So
yeah,
he's my 5th wide receiver.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier with Matt Miller that, everybody that's described this wide receiver class, it's very much in the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yes. And that you could show and get the rankings of 10 different teams and show us your top 5 wide receivers. You're going to get completely different projections and perspectives on this wide receiver class because they're all just a little bit different. They offer something a little bit different. Tank Dell, who do you got next? Who's number 4?
Number 4 is a guy, if you're looking for a outside receiver, he don't look his way. He is going to be strictly a slot, but he's the AB. Yeah, he's the Antonio Brown of the slot. He's going to dominate the slot.
Who is
JSN? Is that his name? JSN? He goes by some initials.
Okay.
Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Okay.
I'll take it.
I'm going to stay away from the name.
Yeah.
I just go by the initials or something like that.
I think that works just fine. Jackson Smith-Njigba is who you're talking about. He had a phenomenal Rose Bowl. Matt talked about it. Had literally one of the best days that you could ever have as a wide receiver. But this year was kind of interesting. He only had 5 or 7 catches. I can't remember. Didn't have very much production. So, yeah, but he's a very talented wide receiver.
And I think his quickness is going to be the thing that, like you said, I told you everybody has something that sets them apart. These top 4 guys, it's his quickness, his foot placement, his speed, the way he comes out of breaks. He's always prepared for the ball. Great strong hands, and then the after the catch,
right?
He got something special, man. He got a little extra. He got a little extra something in his hips that makes him tough to get down.
When we were talking with Matt Miller the posted the other night about the wide receiver position, there was a player that I was going to compare to that I thought similar to Antonio Brown, just in that his 5'10", good route runner, quick, fast, athletic, but not Tyreek Hill, not next level, but athletic as needed to be at that position. And we haven't talked about it. I believe he's going to be in your top 5. If not, I've got a bone to pick with you about this player.
Hey, man,
Let's go to number 3.
Number 3 is my man Jordan Addison.
Yeah,
that's who it is. Jordan Addison from USC. There's been listen, a history of wide receivers coming out of USC. And if we're talking the Chiefs Kingdom, if there's some person that can replace Juju, right? Juju holds a lot of records at USC. This young man, I think, has the ability to do it, and do it at a good pace. So that's who I got as my number 3 receiver, Jordan Addison.
All right, let's move on to number 2.
Number 2, from TCU, Quentin Johnson.
Tucker, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah,
I love him.
I'm not talking like
I love that dude, man. I love him. He's big. He's physical. And we saw him in the Big 12 championship game. Julius Prince had a very bad day against Quentin Johnson. That's not saying anything bad about Julius Prince. Julius Prince has had a very good. They expect him to do very well at the combine. They expect him he did have a very good Senior Bowl. I think that just shows you how good Quentin Johnson is.
One of those guys was happy after the game, and it wasn't Quentin Johnson.
That's fair.
That's all I'm going to say.
I'm saying Julius Prince forced a fumble on a catch, but as Matt Miller brought up, his catch or drop percentage was 12%, and I think that's the biggest thing with him, and with what he's going forward. But athletically, you look at the physical traits that are all there, and you're thinking, man, that guy could be fun in the Chiefs offense. Yeah,
he's a dog. Yes. All right, number 1.
So who's the number 1 then? I think it
could be Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee.
Yep.
It could be Zay Flowers. That's what I'm talking about.
Flowers, man.
That was the player. That was the player that I didn't want to tell Matt Miller that the Antonio Brown stuff. That he's not big. The physical, the physicality part of it is 5'10", 180, 185 pounds, kind of like AB coming out.
Yep.
Good route runner, overly athletic, but not a burner in that kind of way. But this is your guy, so I'll let you talk about
what I love about Zay Flowers, when the ball is in the air, he has a way of getting his body in position, in place to make a catch look routine when it's not. This is a tough, and he doesn't do the OBJ. OBJ allows the ball to get past him just to look exotic and extreme in this one-handed thing. Zay Flowers is able to make those same catches, but he's able to like vault his body or to keep the defender off and catch it with one hand away from the guy.
Yeah.
And so the amount of catches that are contested catches.
Yeah.
And he's not from a offensive powerhouse that has receiver. You know, he doesn't have 5-star guys open. It's just him. And he's still putting up monster numbers. Yeah. That's the guy who I think is going to be the prince, the shining star of this receiver class, Zay Flowers.
That's the guy. If you asked me right now, you asked me at the Shrine Bowl because I had a chance to watch it before. We had a chance to sit down and interview him. It stood out. And it's just like, this guy can be productive. And you watch any receiver's highlights, you're like, Patrick Mahomes could do something with that guy. But Zay Flowers in particular, because the route running, the change of direction, the ability to track a ball, which is what you're talking about. Yes. The ball goes up, he can fight through it. He can fight through traffic. He's got the physicality side of it that just because he has the ability to run those jet sweeps and those scissor routes and those little angle routes, those different things that you need that next level athleticism, quickness, and burst and all those things to happen. But for a player of that size, then to see the contested catches down the field and to fighting through contact to still make plays, it's what stood out to me about him. And yeah, if you ask me right now, who would make me most excited the Chiefs should draft in the first round of 31? Zay Flowers is there. I would be ecstatic that he ended up in the Chiefs. And
I'm hoping that the NFL other teams have it backwards. I'm hoping that Zay is their 5th, 6th wide receiver, so that when there's a run on wide receivers and we're picking at 31, I'm hoping Zay is still there.
Yeah.
So in some ways, I hope my rankings aren't according to the actual draft because then it leaves these great tools that I like at 1 and 2 on my list available for the Chiefs at 31. So,
well, I got something interesting here on your list, and I've heard from a couple people. There's a lot of buzz about Zay Flowers heading into this combine, especially him putting on 13 pounds of muscle, according to his trainer. He's plus 800 right now at DraftKings Sportsbook to be the first wide receiver selected. Heard from some sources that could be in play, so there is some value there in that pick.
Source.
I gotta keep
source.
I gotta keep
source.
I gotta keep tighter. I gotta watch who's sitting around me on Southwest.
Yeah,
it might be. I might have been sitting in the middle of a bunch of scouts, and not even know it. And I'm just writing my notes, and they just like taking pictures of it, or whatever. When I'm asleep, putting the camera over my shoulder and getting on my notes, man.
All right, what's the next position group?
Tight end.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. I know we got Zeus, we got Kelsey. No one's thinking we going after tight end, but let this number 1 tight end make it to 31. This guy's gonna be a game changer. I only got 1 tight end with a first round grade. I got 1. He's a fighting Irish. The gold domer himself, Michael Myers, Michael Moyer, Is Michael Myers the guy in the Halloween?
That's the Halloween guy. Yeah.
Well, guess what? He gonna have people having some nightmares like the guy from Halloween.
Michael Mayer, yeah.
Michael Mayer is a stud. He's a stud, muffin. He's a stud, whatever you want to call him. He's a freak. He's gonna enter the league and be probably comparable to T.J. Hawkinson or something like that. I think he's as athletic. I think as who's the guy that went to the Atlanta Falcons when he came out?
Kyle Pitts.
I think he has a lot of flexibility in his position like that. But I think he has great hands, and I think he knows the position. He's really crafty with the ball. He knows how to sit down in zones and run away from and use his body and man. And that's really all you want is a guy that understands concepts at that position. You know, hey, 3rd and short, we need a first down. We coming at you.
Yeah.
Get open.
Yeah.
Find the spot and get open and then catch the ball, and he does that really well.
I will say this about Michael Mayer. Coming into Notre Dame, he was nicknamed Baby Gronk. He wore 87. He had a lot of similar play styles as Gronk. Now, his game did evolve from when he was a freshman. But even as a freshman, they were saying, hey, this dude's going to be legit. Like, this dude is going to go in the NFL and play for some years. And 6'4", 265 is what they have on the team site, right? So those numbers could be fudged a little bit. We'll get that true height weight here at the combine. But still, that frame of 6'4", 265 as a tight end. Cool.
All right, before we throw this break, we've got 11 players down.
Yeah.
We've got 19 more players to go. And we're going to ask the defensive guy to start talking a little bit of defensive players in the first round right after this quick break.
Welcome back to the KCSN Draft Show here at the Tin Roof Bar and Grill in Indianapolis. Hanging out at the NFL Scouting Combine. Obviously nothing going on right now, but we are hanging out with Shawn Barber here talking about his top 30 guys in this draft, the 30 guys that he likes for the first round. We are through 11 down. We got 19 more. Is that math right?
Yeah, we went through quarterbacks, receivers, and the one tight end.
Yes.
The one tight end.
Now we're gonna pivot and let's go to edge rusher. Is that all right? How many edge rushers do you have projected in the first round of the 2023 NFL draft, 8 weeks before the draft?
I got 5 guys. 5 guys with a first-round pick. I got a 6th guy, and the reason I make him a tweener is because everybody knows edge rushers, cornerbacks, wide receivers, and quarterbacks. They always get this bump because at the end of a draft cycle, when you're picking 30, 31, you want that 5th-year option. You want to use it on a special skill position player, and these guys are hard to find. So if you find one, you want that 5th year. Sometimes you see a team trade up and to get that spot just to get this guy who he might have a 2nd-round grade, but you want him, so you'll take him at the end of the first round. So let's start with my 6th guy.
Okay.
The 6th guy is a guy coming from Clemson, Miles Murphy. I like him all around. This is an all-around great athlete. I think I remember said this before about some other athletes. I don't know what he does extremely well, but he does a lot of things very good.
Yeah.
Great hand placement, great explosion. If the one thing I didn't see a lot, I didn't see that motor. I didn't see a guy. He wasn't a Jared Allen. He didn't show his athleticism through the echo of the whistle like some of these other guys did. So that was the way he got downgraded on mine because I'm a high effort guy. You want to know my priority list? First thing I want to see is running through the whistle of the ball. I want you every snap looking the same. First quarter, fourth quarter, overtime, at practice, in the way. I want to see everything going full speed. And I think that's the one thing. Wherever he gets to a certain team or organization, hopefully the D-line coach, the defensive end coach can kind of get this fire lit under him and keep it going, because that's something that you're going to find across the league. I mean, motivating an NFL player when a guy's been, not making any money his entire life, you're playing football to pay for school, and then all of a sudden you become a multi-millionaire. Sometimes that motivation, what motivates you, that comes into question, and sometimes for a good reason.
Miles Murphy, 6'5", 276. Checks a lot of boxes there for Steve Spagnuolo. I would be interested to see, as you mentioned him kind of as a tweener, see what they can do with him on the inside. If he can do a little bit of a speed rush from the inside like we've seen Chris Jones have some success with, to see if they can kind of pair him with him. That could be really exciting, and I think that he could be a good addition for the Chiefs. Like you mentioned, in that end of the round, you kind of want that 5th-year option on him. I think it all sense.
All right, let's run through the rest. Who do you got at 4 and 3? It's you 2 at this time.
How about 5?
Oh, I'm sorry, 5 and 4.
5, I got Nolan Smith from Georgia, and at 4, I got Andre Carter II.
Okay.
Man from Army. Yeah. He know how to work, man. Guy from Army. He ain't got no choice. Man. You know you're going to get that motivator out of him. He going to give it every play. He going to give 100% because he don't know no better, man. So,
Nolan Smith's a name that's been thrown around, but he's on one too.
Yes.
The Georgia guys.
Let's finish up the edge rushers. I heard the one name, and it's upsetting me already. So, go 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. The proud of Iowa Hawkeye. My man Lucas Von Ness. We're going with that with number 3. Number 2, Tyree Wilson. I think I got the name right, Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech. And number 1, I think number 1 on my board, he's the number 1 player overall, not just at his position, but in the entire draft. If we was going just off of grit, ability, and talent, my man Will Anderson out of Alabama is the number 1 edge rusher in this draft.
Makes sense. I mean,
it is what it is.
I was looking for Felix, but didn't hear it.
No Felix.
They were talking about.
I heard his feelings.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sit over here and pal for a minute.
This is what I do. I mean, he's got this quarterback background, so he knows about running routes. But when that dog, Felix ain't got that dog. I ain't see the dog come out.
Interesting.
I need that JYD. I need that junkyard dog that got to come out on.
I'll send you some clips.
I need that junkyard dog.
See some clips.
I need to see Felix that be that junkyard dog, man.
Well, if you look at it right now, number 1 pick right now, we talked about the Bears kind of wanted to move, what they want to do on defense. Will Anderson would be a good guy if they don't rate under there. Plus 650 on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. It could make yourself some money. Will Anderson was that guy too coming out last year. You look at the Alabama defense and you said, there's a lot of really good defensive players. This Will Anderson guy is the best one there. And they're like, okay, yeah, he's eligible next year. Like, he's ineligible this year. And then he had a comparable year this year. So I'm a big fan of Will Anderson.
All right, let's move on to a different position group.
Let's do it.
And let's go to cornerback. Let's go to the young guys on the outside. How many cornerbacks do you have projected as first-round picks? I think we're at 17 total.
Yes, the exact same setup as the edge rushers. I got 5 that I had at first-round grade, but a 6th guy, obviously, man, listen, the way the vertical game in the NFL, you got to got guys that can cover these wide receivers. So if you got a corner available that you really like, he's a second-rounder, but you picking 30, 31, you might want to grab him. So if the Chiefs has the opportunity, I have a guy from the Orange Crush. My man, Garrett Wilson from Syracuse is my 6th-ranked overall corner. I love his feet. I love his hand placement. I love the way he plays. I'm not in love with his man technique, but I love his awareness in zone. And Steve Spagnuolo, we do multiple fronts. We got guys that can play some zone. We got guys that can play with their hands. He seems to be a guy that knows concepts. He knows coverage because he was able to do a lot with just a little bit sometimes. So I don't know if his talent level if he just all his raw skill and ability, would he be in my top 6? But when I see the production on the field and I see that he knows how to play the position, that's why I got him kind of eking into that first-round grade for me.
Man, for sure. Who else you got on that list?
Number 5, Devonta Banks out of Maryland.
Yep.
I think, to me, across the board, if you talk about mirror ability, if I put an offensive receiver in front of you and I tell you to stay in front of him 5 yards as long as you can, he's the number 1 guy at doing that. I think he can stay in front of any receiver on his board. He can stay in front of him to keep him getting vertical. And a lot of times on defense, that's what you need in order to get those pass rushers home.
All right, what do you got else to finish off the top 6 of cornerbacks?
I got a guy from the U. Tyreek Stevenson at number 4. I got Christian Gonzalez. Tony was like that. Maybe it's long lost. Tony was on that little Missing How to Find Your Family DNA show a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what it's called, Finding Your Roots or something like that. He found a lot of, so maybe this Christian Gonzalez from Oregon might be on this thing. And then I got 2 guys left. I bet you can't guess what order I got him in. One is a former friend of mine's son. Yeah, he's a junior. Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State. Locked it down for my man at University of Pennsylvania, or Penn State. And then my number 1 corner is Spoon. Last year was Sauce. This year is the Spoon.
Yep.
Witherspoon from Illinois.
Dog, all those corners are good. I really like the Witherspoon kid.
I really like to just have the situation be where the Chiefs go out and win a Super Bowl with an entire rookie group that are all on rookie deals.
Right.
No, not rookie deal. An entire group of cornerbacks that are all on rookie deals. Because we saw 4 guys play last year. L'Jarius Sneed is up. It's been rumored to be on the trade block. They went out and invested even more into the cornerback position. That would be something.
Yes.
Go find your guys.
Yeah. Got to.
Love it. Let's move on to linebacker. Can't believe it took us this long to get to your position.
Unfortunately, if there's a thinness in the draft, it's at linebacker.
Uh-oh. Do you have any?
Yeah, 1.
Okay.
When I say I had to look long and deep to find some reason to make him a first-round grade.
Fair enough.
Man, it's a lot of guys I've seen historically get taken in the draft that, this is just not the greatest draft for linebackers, I'm sorry to say.
All right, who do you got?
Washington State, my man, Dayon Henley is the guy I got as the number 1 linebacker. I know some people talk about Trenton Simpson from Clemson or something like that, but again, I think I've seen the Clemson film is something about the guys, the way they pursue, it just turned me off. Almost across the board with all the Clemson guys on defense.
Yeah. All right, let's go D-tackle.
D-tackle, obviously. Ooh.
Yeah. We talked about it with Matt the other day. Storyline of the combine
story.
On, what's today? Wednesday that we're recording this.
Yeah.
That Jalen Carter
yeah.
and his legal situations with the warrant out for his arrest with a couple misdemeanors, but a very serious situation.
Yes.
In which people lost their lives. More information obviously is going to come out about that. Jalen Carter came out and said he's going to be fully exonerated when all the information comes out. But there's a lot there that NFL teams for a player that some have as the top player in this draft.
Right.
A lot of questions are going to have to be figured out with him. So we know where Jalen Carter is at. Who else do you have projected?
I had one other guy with a first-round grade. It's Kalia Casey. I think it's great. The first name got a spell kind of, I think it's Kalia Casey from Pitt. That was the guy that I had also with the first grade. I think with Carter going so high, there's going to be a lot of teams left that if you need to fill a hole at defensive tackle, this young man might end up getting drafted in the first round just based off of a team need basis. So defensive tackles is hard to come by, 3 techniques, 5 techniques. Those guys are hard to replace. And so I think there's enough NFL teams that through free agency and some cap casualties, you might have a team filling the hole with this young man from Pitt.
Yeah, and we'll know more about how that could play out based on what we see through free agency. Because a guy like Javon Hargrave, I believe, is going to be a free agent in this market. We saw Deron Payne already get the tag from Washington. We know Chris Jones not going to be available like that, but another player that's going to deserve a big deal. So once free agency gets through, it's going to help players outside of the Jalen Carters, that next group of guys who misses out in free agency and who needs to fill spots right there. One position we haven't talked about on defense yet, safety.
Yeah.
What do you got for safety?
Hey, man, safety is a deep group. It's just I didn't find a lot of high-level guys. I only got one guy with a first-round grade. And now, Alabama got 2 safeties. And actually, they got 3. They got a third one, too, number 2. I can't remember his name right now, but he popped I was looking at Brian Branch, and I was looking at Battle. Yeah. And I kept seeing his number 2 jump into the screen. And I'm like, well, hold on, what position? So they playing the same thing as Spags, the 3 safety look. Yeah. And all 3 of those guys are making plays all over the field. But I do think Brian Branch does kind of set himself apart at the safety position as being the cream of the crop when you come to these safeties. Yeah. Everybody else is kind of, second, third round guy.
I think it's perfect. If the Chiefs are fortunate enough to have Brian Branch fall to them at pick number 31, I think you're sprinting to the podium at that point. You look at that, you can make that defense look pretty nasty. If you already have Justin Reed up there, you go ahead, you get Brian Cook and add Brian Branch to it too. So I mean, could be a lot of fun in that secondary, and you're gonna have a lot of young guys too. That's a guy you can have a 5th-year option on if you have him at the end of that first round. So very interesting. Yeah.
All right, what position groups have we not hit yet? We go back to the offense because we left the big boys out for one.
We did.
We left the big boys out.
So let's go do the big boy list.
All right, let's see.
How many projected, say, offensive line, or do you have them by tackle, guard?
I do have them by tackle, and then I got the guards and centers together.
Yep. How many do you have projected? How many offensive linemen do you have projected in the first round?
So I got 3 tackles, and I got 3 tackles, and I got 3 interior guys.
Okay.
So I thought it was, if you tell me what position had the most first-round depth in this draft, I'm telling you it's the offensive line. I think 6 guys in total, and maybe a 7th guy because of the need for offensive tackles in the league. I think there's going to be 6 or 7 offensive linemen, 3 or 4 tackles, 3 or 4 interior guys. I'll start with the tackles. At 3, I got Paris Johnson Jr. Out of Ohio State. At 2, you're going to have to help me with the last name. He's out of Northwestern.
Skronsky.
Yes, that guy. Peter Skronsky. And then my number 1 guy, obviously at tackle, was Broderick Jones from Georgia. Yep. I think he's been dominant all year. He started off as being one of the top tackles, and I think he's done nothing but prove, put his game film against anybody. He's one of the top tackles in the league this year.
Before we move on to the interior guys, I think the only real concern about Broderick Jones when it comes up is his arm length. We'll obviously have more clarity here at the combine, but that's the kind of the concern here. Mel Kiper Jr. mocked him to the Chiefs at number 31. So something that could be interesting for the future for Broderick Jones.
Talk about the interior guys.
Interior guys, let me see. I got so many sheets over here.
You have all kinds of notes. It's unbelievable.
So I had 2 guys that I was kind of, think if needed to, could sneak up there. One is John Smith from Minnesota, and another guy is Joe Templeman from Wisconsin. Both of those guys had second-round grades on my book, but their tape looked better than their tape wanted me to find a way to put them as a first-round guy. The unfortunate part is 3 other guys had better tape. And those 3 guys is Steve Avila from TCU, Osiris Torrance from Florida, and then my number 1 is also a guard center combo, is Luke, I can't pronounce his last name, from Ohio State. The Ohio State,
they've got a good offensive line.
I mean, you could just took all 5 of those guys and say, throw them up in there in first, second round picks across the board, man. That's a phenomenal group that they had, and I think it comes back to their coaching. I talk all the time about the Kansas City Chiefs, right? What makes their offense so good? You got to start giving Andy Heck his props. He's been taking guys that for other teams didn't make their teams. We have guys, 2 or 3 guys come from the Cleveland Browns or some other team that couldn't make their squad come here and become consistent starters because the way Coach Andy Heck is having them all stepping and understanding and learning and working together. Andrew Wiley's and some of these guys, man, they just don't seem from a talent standpoint like they should be as good as they are. But on this team, under the tutelage of Andy Heck, they become really good ball players. And so any of those kids that we've named, I think we named 3 offensive tackles, 3 centers. So that's another 6 to add to the number. And then we added some fringe guys. So that was another 6 or 7 guys. I don't know what the grand total is right now.
I think we're probably like around 30 because there's only one position group that we haven't talked about. And I want to know how many players you have projected at that position in the first round because
historically,
trigger Chiefs fans.
Historically,
running backs in the first round.
We can't talk running backs in the first round. Historically, they just don't go. But there's only one guy, and I think it's clear cut across the board from the University of Texas. He's running like the spirit of the running was the bumbling, stumbling, running ghost. We used to call him the Big Ticket, a.k.a. Priest Holmes from his alma mater. And this is Bijan Johnson. Man, he runs like a deer. Man, powerful, got great hands, great explosion. He's always balanced, always under control. I'm always trying to think of a pro comparison to these guys when I see them. And off the top of my head, I just don't. He's a little bit of Saquon, a little bit of LaDainian. He's a little bit of Tiki, maybe a Tiki Barber.
Yeah.
Because if I think about Tiki Barber, I don't ever think I've seen Tiki be off balance. Yeah. Always on balance, always getting positive yards. No one ever taking a good hit on him. So somewhere between an Emmitt Smith, Tiki Barber kind of combination, Bijan Johnson from the University of Texas.
Matt Miller did say he's the best running back prospect in 25 years.
Ooh, I didn't even hear him say that, but maybe after I put all those
I'm going to talk to Matt
pieces
about that. He said the same thing about Saquon like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Saquon was good. That Penn State tape was, that was impressive.
He was stupid impressive.
They're in the same conversation, but it's kind of crazy to think about. But a guy that could go pretty high in this draft.
All right, those are the top 30 players, the projected first-round picks from Mr. Shawn Barber, who's got everything else through second round, third round, and we will get to more of that. And Shawn's going to be helping us out throughout the draft season and more stuff here at KC Sports Network. So appreciate everybody for hanging out. Please hit that like and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Again, we'll have plenty more content coming from the NFL Scouting Combine with our 2 weekly draft shows that we will have throughout the next, 7-8 weeks, getting ready for the draft. Plenty of content, plenty of videos for YouTube. Got the highlights. It's going to be a lot of fun. We appreciate all you for hanging out with us. For Tucker Franklin, I'm BJ Kissel. And for one, Mr. Shawn Barber, the pride of the Richmond Spiders.
Yes.
We appreciate you all for hanging out, listening, spending part of your day with us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. Check out these videos that feature our team of more than 15 former players, insiders, and analysts bringing you the best Chiefs coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.